Hi, I'm Dottie, compulsive eater, and I don't eat in between meals. And for today, I'm abstinent and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet. I write it down, call into my sponsor. I don't eat in between meals. And for today, abstinence is the most important thing in my life. And without abstinence, I really wouldn't have a life. And thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. My abstinence date is August 16th, 1999. So I have 21 years, 11 months, and I don't know how to count the days, but it's close. It's getting close. And I'm very excited about it. And who knew, one day at a time, time goes by. That's all it is. And I just have to keep my gratitude up. And, the gratitude gives me the willingness to do the work it takes. And the work it takes means going to the grocery store, shopping, chopping, learning how to cook. I didn't know how to do that. And, making sure I have backup, making sure I have everything, that I'm working a 12-step program, that I'm working on a spiritual life, that I'm working on the steps, and that I keep moving forward. Because if I don't move forward, I go back. I do have to say my one major relationship in life was with food. That mattered more than people, than anything. As a child, the disease didn't show on me. I was athletic and hyperactive, but sugar was everything to me. And I was indulged. I was allowed to have whatever I wanted. And it didn't become an issue until I was in my 20s. Then it started to show. But though I didn't have eating friends, because my friends were anorexic, which was really depriving, who knew, and I'm like, oh, gee, because they didn't know how to eat. And so they didn't want to engage in that behavior. So that probably helped me in a way. And in my mid-20s, I was starting to come on, not much, 5 pounds, 8 pounds. And people started making comments to me, you better do something about that. And I'm like, just totally, I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't comprehend, because my anorexic friends are always dieting and I never engaged in that with them. I just can't comprehend it, how to eat healthy, how to, I just didn't understand it. And I wasn't willing to do that exploration either. And I just figured, someday I'll get my shit together. And, that was my mantra. I think, someday I'll deal with that. And then, in my early 30s, I started putting down the other substances. I had a lot of fun with alcohol, or should I say it had fun with me. I was smoking pot. I was running around chasing after men. I was doing all kinds of activities. And I started to realize how empty they were. And I started putting them down one by one, and the food became more important. And I was, I think I was 32 when I put down the cigarettes. And that was the last, and that was a big one, because I was still waitressing at that time. And my hand would always come to my mouth, but it was with food. And people in the restaurant noticed, they would come to me and say, oh, let's have this dessert, and because they knew they only would need 1 or 2 bites and I would take care of the rest and it wouldn't be wasted. And I'll tell you, I ate every dessert in all those diners, and they're really not that good. And I do want to warn you that whatever's not finished goes back into the batter. And so what you're getting is not that fresh. I've cut something that was brand new and it was already stale. So, you're not missing anything really other than misery. And it was in my early 30s, I read about Overeaters Anonymous, and I went in there and I didn't understand. I learned how to listen. I learned how to share and how to relate. And that was as far as I could go. I just didn't, if the gray sheet was handed to me in the very beginning, I would have done it. But it wasn't, wasn't available anymore at that time. And I heard about it, and I heard it was the hardest thing in the world. And I'm like, you're right. I can't do anything. I went to Weight Watchers for, I think, a week or 2 weeks, gave them money, never counted points. I'm not doing that. I don't count calories. I don't know how to do that. I just don't know how to do any of that. And I had a block. I just couldn't learn it, and I just, blocked it out of my mind. And so I learned to, I did lose some weight in the very beginning because I understood to put down the sugar, but I didn't, emotionally, I didn't understand about the grains. Like intellectually, I understood that grains turn to sugar in the body. I know that. I took science, but somehow, grains became important again. And so the weight came back on and then some. And so I learned to hide, in fat serenity. I wanted fat serenity because I wanted it, I couldn't see of anything else. And it was easy to hide there. And I found my way into my money program through there because people went in there, and it was there, I did it what you call a pressure relief meeting. I sat down with a male and a female across from me, and they looked at my numbers, and and they're, because they had dieting problems too, and they're going to give me advice. And the man looked me up and down. He says, you got a problem with food. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking, no shit, And he says, you can't work just one program, and that caused my despair, because I thought there was no hope. There was nothing for me to do. And so I was going to go to a retreat, an OA retreat. It was about 50-minute drive away. And I went out there, and actually, indeed, there was a couple of people in GreySheeters, and they were looking good, and their eyes were looking happy. And I asked them what they were doing, and they told me, and I'm like, oh, great. And one said, well, come to the meeting. The room. It's just a different, Saturday night, it's a different day, different time. That's all. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so Saturday night, I went to go to this retreat, and it was canceled. Somebody else was there. And I'm like, nobody called me. I hadn't, and it was a nice long drive. I was really annoyed. And so I turned around and went back, and I went to that room, because I was annoyed. And I figured, connect with some fellowship. And I was led to the only available sponsor, and that's when God graced me with the willingness, because I sat there and I listened, and I was just kind of overwhelmed by all the information because I never dieted. So I didn't have diet information, stored away. So it was all new information. And the real miracle was I went home and I didn't stop at any fast food places because I'm not a gourmet. I'll eat anything, and just, and people used to laugh at me and make fun of me at the size of the garbage can in my car, and it was a regular, it was a big Rubbermaid plastic thing behind the passenger seat. Because what do you do with all the refuse and the plastic and the paper and stuff, because I would eat a lot in the car. And people laugh at me, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? Like, are they slobs? Are their cars a mess? What do they do with their garbage? And I didn't understand that I had this inordinate amount of garbage from the food I would eat. I had no idea. And that very first day, the first morning, I got up, I called my sponsor and gave her my food. And I thought, well, this is different because I never really called the sponsor about food before. I never turned over my food before. And the compulsion to eat was lifted that first day. And that was higher power, and I was like, oh my God, I have to hold on to this, because I am not a dieter. I do not struggle. I do not suffer. I run. I'm a good person at running, but I don't, struggling with something is not my thing. And I see people struggle with day ones and come back and it's really very hard, and I see how they suffer. And I'm like, oh, I can't do, I don't think I'm capable of doing that. I dare not pick up. I dare not touch it. I dare not romance the food, because it'll kill me, slowly. It doesn't kill us quickly like alcohol does. It kills us slowly, and it's just, puts us in a fog, and we don't know what's happening until they start cutting off limbs from diabetes or blindness or heart attacks or all of that. So it's just, it's been a miracle. I have to work this program because going, if I don't go forward, I go back, and going back is a death sentence because you may never see me again. Because I know people who have gone out and they've been out 8 years, 10 years, 12 years before they come back. And it's just, I might not have another recovery in me. So I better do this. And so I learned how to cook. 5 minutes, wow. I learned how to cook and how to shop, make backup. I had backup in the back of in my car. When I worked, I had backup at work. You know, you don't trust the refrigerator at work because people steal your food, you know, and to me, that's the highest crime I can imagine. But that happens. So I always carried a little, you know, one of those insulated little lunch things that I carried my food with me. I didn't put it in the public area. And I do AWOLs. My goal was to do one a year. I was very lucky to be on Long Island where there was a large gray sheet community and there were people who led AWOLs and I was able to participate in that. So for a while, it was a goal to do one a year. And now, you know, on Zoom, and the short little AWOL, the Back to Basics AWOL, I've done a bunch of those and those are great. I really love the book. And I have to keep working the steps because I have to do 6 and 7. So when my character defects come up, I, you know, ask higher power to take it away. I had to develop a relationship with higher power and turn it over, do the next right thing. And the next right thing is usually shopping or shopping. Usually has something to do with my food. And I like the slogans. There's another meal coming. That really struck me that first night. Another meal is coming. I'm like, oh, it's not like a diet. It's not deprivation. I also like move a muscle, change a thought. That's when I do when the feelings are getting strong or difficult, or I don't know how to handle something. I just, you know, move a muscle, do something else, think of something else, and just get me through the moment. Because those dreadful feelings don't last forever. They can pass. They can pass in 2 minutes. They can pass in 5, 10. You know, it's not forever. You know, and to mourn or to be sad about something is to honor those that I've lost, you know, and to be present for that is to honor them and to feel that and to go through that so that I can move beyond that. And learning how to identify and manage my emotions that's difficult. You know, anger is really difficult. I spend money in anger. I'll eat in anger. You know, I do everything inappropriately to release anger. I have to learn how to turn it over to God because I don't know what the hell to do with it, and focus on gratitude. Write a gratitude list. I did that every day in my money program, and that was my first prayer, was to thank you for the abundance in my life and my abstinence, and being in recovery, actually working at recovery instead of just hiding in the back of a room. And this program's given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. It really has. I can travel. There's no holding me back. I can do anything abstinently. I can go to weddings. I can eat out with people. I can do whatever I want. You know, I just make sure I have my backup. I have what I need, and I have my commitment. I bring my commitment with me. You know, because if I lose it, I may never get it back. And it's just learning to deal with those emotions. You know, steps 6 and 7 are so important because that stuff comes up and I just have to just turn it over. Meditation helps. I'm learning how to do two-way prayer, listening, you know, meditating, praying, and then being quiet and listening for direction. And then I put the test to it. Is it forgiving? Is it loving? Is it honest? You know, is it, you know, caring? You know, I don't want it to be a self-seeking thought. I want it to be a higher power direction. And that usually involves working program. You know, I don't really have any stressful quandaries in my life right now. So I'm lucky on that. People are difficult. You know, I've had to let go of old friendships because they just, you know, they triggered me. They weren't good for me. And that's, you know, and I do focus on 12-step people, not necessarily the healthiest people in the world either. But, you know, we're all working, you know, we're all working to move ahead. And so it's, my food is delicious. Every meal is a celebration, I do have to say. And I have to thank everybody for being here. And no matter what, thank you.